What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry it's been such a delay since the last video. I was in London and we were launching Country Star, this mobile game that just launched that I've been working with for a year, and thank you guys so much for all the feedback on that and for loving it and for playing it and for putting us at #1 in the game section of the App Store in the US and in the UK. So exciting. Keep tagging me in stories, keep playing. The team's just like over the moon and excited, and it's just been so cool to roll out the game, and everyone loves it, so thank you. But when I got home from London, I started to feel really bad last week, and I ended up going to the hospital and getting all these EKGs and was feeling like rib pain and back pain and chest pain, and I thought I was having like a heart attack. Turns out I got shingles. Who gets shingles? It sucks. Good gracious. That derailed me this week. And then I ended up just getting all fatigued. And I didn't mean for it to be this long since having a video, okay? Like, we know I'm inconsistent. I ain't trying to be this inconsistent. But I'm feeling mostly better now. And I need to do a little bit of an album roundup. I'm going to do 10 albums in this video. I have them all in a hat. What hat do I have here? I have a Jake Worthington. It says Tonk on it. We'll get caught up and talk about a bunch of albums. And I don't have everything on here. I don't have the new Darius Rucker or Old Dominion. I don't have Steven Wilson Jr. or Larry Fleet. This summer was chaotic and I got kind of behind when I was moving. But hey, 10 albums is not nothing. So let's just go one by one. All right, first up is Turnpike Troubadours, A Cat in the Rain. That mean old sun better rise up soon if it's ever gonna set on me. So this album came out the same week as Bryan's self-titled, which tends to suck all the air out of the room. But it was still super joyous and exciting and a great event to have the Turnpike Troubadours back after their hiatus. Now this album is a Shooter Jennings produced album, and he's got this like very sort of full, lovely, vintage musical sound about him. And I mostly think of him producing American Aquarium. And it's interesting hearing him with Turnpike Troubadours because they play a lot more clean and it's almost a more polite sound than like the brashness of BJ Barham. And I found myself almost like a little bit bored by this record at times, even though it was really, really good. There's something that feels a little edgeless about it, at least compared to old Turnpike stuff like Long Hot Summer Day and Gin and Smoke and Lies, especially because like Evan tends to be a lot more poetic of a writer. And so when you've got this like clean, beautiful sound, I mean, the musicality on this record is great. I'm not trying to take anything away from them as a band because they're amazing, but it's like a nice, pleasant sound. And then Evan's this very kind of cryptic writer. And sometimes it would just leave me a little like, at the end of songs where I didn't really know how I wanted them to be hitting me. But there's a ton on here that I love. I love the song Lucille. I like The Rut. I really like Shipping Mill. Mean Old Sun does have that edge that I was kind of describing. But for me, it's all about the title track, A Cat in the Rain. You can try to put the past behind us on you. Now, this song is very difficult to understand exactly what it's about. If I interpret it correctly, I think the second verse here is kind of the Miranda T, where he talks about like making love for half a morning and then this girl moves on to greener pastures. And then I think the first verse in the song is almost describing Evan's reconciliation with his wife. I think it's not told chronologically. And the rest of the song is describing him sobering up in rehab and kind of like being out in remote Texas, getting his life together and thinking about all the mistakes he's made, and ultimately reflecting on how, you know, his wife kind of rescued this cat that was out in the rain. That's how he's describing himself. It's a very cool song, a lot to unpack. My interpretation of it could be wrong, but it is just, it's pretty, it's melodic, and it's interesting. I also really enjoy the two covers at the end of this, especially 3 Days More, the John Fulbright cover. So good. So it's interesting because it's one of those albums that I hear the quality. I love that Turnpike is back. And yet at the same time, I'm a touch bored by it. But that's nitpicking. It's a good album. Okay, next up is Charles Wesley Godwin's Family Ties. I'd do it all again. Okay, we're doing the heavy hitters first here because this might be my album of the year. I mean, it's definitely in the mix of the top albums of the year so far. Family Ties is extraordinary. Charles Wesley Godwin, I've loved him from Seneca to How the Mighty Fall, and now onto his third LP, which is being released by Big Loud. He signed a big old record deal, and it's excellent. Charles has always cared about family and legacy and lineage. He's talked a lot about his kin that are down in the mines, reflected on West Virginia. But I feel like on Family Ties, he is looking at like the babies in the living room right in front of him. He kind of brings that family perspective into the here and now, and you're hearing him kind of as a husband, as a father, thinking about life. And there's something that makes this album, I think, much more accessible and relatable to people that might not be interested in like the historical musings of Charles Wesley Godwin. Now, I know I talked about a lot of this stuff on my big Charles Wesley Godwin deep dive video that I did recently. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. But the title track, Strike Me Down, that remains one of the highlights of this album.
Strike me down.
I also think the song Another Leaf is going to be like a sleeper smash. This song is interesting. This is a song about, getting down and making love. But even this song is in this context of family that the whole record is in, where he's like, hey, let's add another leaf on the family tree tonight, which is such a interesting, procreative, sexy thing to say. Other times he's thinking about how he, as a traveling musician, is not necessarily able to be there for his family all the time. I love the song Skyline Blues. It really reminds me of the Avett Brothers, and they recorded this album, him and the Allegheny High, over at Echo Mountain, which is where the Avett Brothers have recorded stuff, and I feel like it captures that vibe so well. I mean, the Avett Brothers are my favorite band ever. I'm jumbled here, and I'm trying to go fast, but Al Torrance, who has produced all of Charles' stuff, continues to just nail it. His production style sounds like so sophisticated. And there's a couple co-writes on this record as well, like Minor Imperfections.
He's got minor imperfections, blame it on his...
Which again is Charles kind of taking one step towards accessibility, maybe to people that hadn't listened to him before. And that song is just a clever little conceit of the calluses on his hands are minor imperfections, talking about like coal miners and stuff, and that his family was proud to wear them. Man, this album is just focused and cool. Songs like All Again, Willing and Able show off Charles's voice so well. It's about family. Man, it's so good. It's easily near the top of my albums for the year. Okay, I cannot talk this long about every one of these. What's next? Megan Moroney's Lucky Deluxe.
No such thing as too fast. I'm picking out what does.
Basically, Meg Moroney released her album Lucky, which is great. I reviewed it earlier this year with 3 new songs. One of them is turning Fix You 2 into a duet with Cameron Marlowe, and damn, Cameron Marlowe's voice is so good, and that song I feel like actually was elevated by being turned into a duet, and I don't usually feel that way about duets. But then she's got 2 other songs. Reason to Stay is a cool ballad, but I'm really obsessed with the song Nothing Crazy, which is a duet with her and Mackenzie Carpenter. The song's just freaking funny. It's about kind of Megan delusionally dreaming of an entire future with a guy that she's just met. She's imagining the wedding and the dress she's gonna wear. She's planning it out on Pinterest. And hey, maybe she'll find out that he has a trust fund. It's funny, it's cheeky, it's cool. It's got that awesome 90s sort of playful but modernized vibe that Lucky has, and just chef's kiss. It's been cool to see Meg Moroney just run with the ball this year, and it's been cool to see the public realize, hey, she's not just a Barbie doll. She's actually making really cool, good, smart, funny music. All right, next up from the Jake Worthington hat is Morgan Wade's Psychopath. Morgan Wade really switched it up on this record as compared to her first record, Wilder Days, which in some ways was like a bellwether of the kind of alternative, grungy sound to come in this moment of country music that we're in, because now she's kind of veered into a much poppier direction on this album. Tracks like 80s Movies and Make You Fall in Love With Me have a way kind of like synthier, poppier vibe, and I think that can be hit or miss. Like, to me, it's not as immediate of an interesting sound to my ear as the first record, but as I listened to this a couple of times, there were certain songs that really did sneak up on me. I really love the song Phantom Feelings.
I bet that northern air is cold when you're...
And the delivery on the chorus where she's like, Phantom Feelings. I feel like I like that line because she delivers it almost in this disappearing way, like a phantom would. Otherwise, my favorite melody on the album really is Make You Fall in Love With Me.
But it's fine, I don't care. When Wanna take off your clothes, wanna make
That song is so catchy to me. And Morgan's voice is awesome. You really can't deny how cool her voice sounds on something like 80s Movies or that song or 27 Club, which is a very cool song, kind of Morgan reflecting on her journey of sobriety and how she's not in the 27 Club because she didn't die young, because she got her life together.
goes on, on.
The album's definitely a mishmash because there's stuff that I think is really cool and confessional, and then stuff like Alanis and Guns N' Roses feels a bit more hokey to me, and it's not especially country at all. It kind of just, I don't know, it sort of falls into a no man's land. But it's not a bad no man's land, but it's not one, I don't know. I don't really know. But whereas she could have literally remade that album and it would have been exactly the sound right now, I kind of respect that she chose to veer and follow her own muse. I always respect that. All right, who's up next? Emily Ann Roberts, Can't Hide Country.
Hold on to me so tight that we never have to say goodbye.
This is another album that is one of the best of the year. This knocked my socks off when I heard it. I mean, I liked the song A Whole Lot of Little so much. It was one of my top songs of last year.
Hey, you and me got a whole lot of littles all right by me.
Fun fiddle anthem. I really enjoyed He Set Her Off, which was a silly kind of arson-filled story song.
Like a flower, but she's fragile like a bomb. Yeah, you set her off.
And Emily just kept delivering dynamic song after dynamic song on this album, Can't Hide Country. I guess her background is that she got really far on The Voice when she was a teenager and was on Team Blake, but man, she's really had to, I think, assert herself and say, no, I don't want to be basic. I want to make cool, real country music, and I feel like she so accomplished that on her debut album. There's a wholesomeness about this record that I love, and I don't mean that in an uncool way. I don't mean that in like a Hallmark movie kind of way. I mean it in a like fully embodied woman that wants to be a wife, wants to be a woman of God, and wants to be like sexy and girly and go out. There's just like a confidence and an assuredness about the songs on this record that is so cool to me. And you just get the sense that Emily really knows who she is and what she's about. Like, I have not heard a song like Loves Me for My Heart probably ever.
My baby loves me for my heart. That's the
I
only
feel like everyone else wants to like swagger and be badass and be like, I'm sexy and tough and can take you down. And Emily's like, look, I know that I look good in this dress and I know that I have family money and land out here, but I want a man that loves me for my heart. That's what he's after. Like, that's so cool to me. And it's not like there's no libido on the record. I mean, songs like Chickens are about doing the dirty, you know? We go to sleep when the chickens go to sleep too. Probably the single countryest song I've heard in forever is this song called Still Searching with Ricky Skaggs and Vince Gill on this album.
still searching for reasons.
And Emily's vocal is extraordinary. She moves in half steps and onto minor notes and just in ways that are so unusual and so classically country. And I mean, you want to talk about vocals. That last song, The Building, when she just casually like soars into the stratosphere.
No matter what I've done, I know I'm
Same with Infinity. She delivers an amazing vocal and it's sweet and heartfelt and it's just got an entrancing melody to me. The production is done by Trent Willman and it feels super 90s, super sturdy, classic. I mean, she references Shania on that song, Find Me a Man, and it very much feels like a Shania song. Although of the new songs, I've seen that the one that's working on streaming is Devil Wears Denim, which totally fits into this kind of like sad Western cowgirl thing that's happening with Zandy Hollop, Maggie Antone. That's very kind of the vibe on streaming at the moment. But yeah, I could go on and on and on about this record, and I have, but Emily feels to me like this fully conceptualized package artist. Like this feels like the second coming of Carrie Underwood or something. Can't say enough good things. All right, what is up next? We got Dan and Shay's Bigger Houses.
Then again, I would've never met you.
Okay, you need to drop your pride and your hatred of Dan and Shay. I've given their last album a 3 out of 10, okay? I have written mean articles about them in The Guardian. Like, yes, I know that they have a song with Justin Bieber. I know that they're kind of the purveyors of boyfriend country, but I'm telling you, they made a really, really good album. I think probably the best album I've ever heard from Dan and Shay with Bigger Houses. And certainly when compared to Good Things, I think this one just feels way more timeless and cool. Now, it's got a little bit of gloss on it. It is Dan and Shay. They like a clean harmony, they like a clean sound, but you can hear so much more instruments on this, and you're gonna hear fiddle on songs like We Should Get Married. You're gonna hear no drums on Bigger Houses, the title track, which has one of the coolest melodies in the chorus that I've heard all year, where they're like, what you got still not enough, and they go way up high.
You got still not enough. The thing about happiness.
It sounds awesome, and it's almost like an evolved version of From the Ground Up. The song Heartache on the Map, which is an Ernest co-write, that is an infectious melody. That is such a country song.
Since you went south till I'd seen a dust cloud.
And then I'm super into this one song called What Took You So Long. I love the sound of the melody. It kind of falls out in an unexpected way, and I love that.
What took you so long?
The thing about A-listers in country music, and I've always seen this, is that when they achieve A-list status, they tend to mail it in. I remember feeling this way when I got really into Kenny Chesney when I was a teenager, and he kind of got popular all of a sudden for doing beach songs. And so then like the next million albums, it just felt like this mailed in kind of beachy thing. Same way people say about Jason Aldean and his like small town, like We're Tough songs. There is a certain path of least resistance for artists that actually play on the radio. And I just respect that Dan and Shay were like, look, we know we have this proven formula. We can make sappy love songs and that works for us. But let's try to take some swings on this record. And do they nail every bit of it? No. Do I still think there's like a good amount too much of production sometimes? Yes. But it just feels like a real album. It feels mature and more grown up and more just timeless sonically. Like, I love being able to hear the instruments. I love less processing on the vocals and yeah, respect. Okay, next up. Ashley McBryde's The Devil I Know.
Trust yourself, you better love yourself.
I like this album so much more than Lindyville. I felt on such an island with Lindyville because I just had trouble getting into it, knowing that it was a concept record and that these were stories about a made-up group of people. For some reason I had a block and I was just like, I'm not that interested in this. Whereas this album, The Devil I Know, where I can kind of get insight into who Ashley is as an artist and as a person, that's more interesting to me. And this album does have a mix of songs that feel very personal to Ashley, but then also kind of like a lot of life lesson songs, sort of like the lead single from it, Light On in the Kitchen. And if I have a criticism of this album, it's that there's kind of one too many neatly packaged life lesson songs, like she does on Coldest Beer in Town or Light On in the Kitchen. That stuff is sweet, but man, I like her kind of weird emotions that she'll explore more. And some of the personal moments on this really stand out. I think Learn to Lie is an absolute stunner of a track.
Learn to lie.
In this, Ashley is saying, she learned from her family upbringing how to repress what she's really feeling and how she saw modeled in her life relationships where people weren't being honest with each other and how she kind of learned to carry that into how she interacts with people. And she learned to lie and to deny things and to not say what she's feeling and how that holds her up in relationships today. I mean, what a real thing that anyone could relate to. And then I loved the concept of this one song called Single at the Same Time, where she's talking about how her and this friend, they were never single at the same time and how it still crosses her mind, like, what if, even though they're both now with other people, like, it's an interesting sort of forbidden thought. And I like when Ashley goes there. The album has a pretty heavy rock edge. Sometimes I'm like, I know Jay Joyce is gonna Jay Joyce, but can you Jay Joyce a little less? Although it does make for an exciting listen, especially my favorite kind of his production choices is actually on the album opener, Made for This.
You gotta be made for this.
That song rocks out, and I'm like happy for Ashley. I'm like, you are made for this. On the whole, I think it's a very solid album. Okay, a few left in here. What's up next? We got Warren Zeiders, Pretty Little Poison.
My pretty little poison, my heartache.
Y'all know I love him as the guy that used to post the cringiest TikToks with wind machines and pouring whiskey on his eyes, but he actually has managed to claw his way out of the TikTok sellers and become a quite viable performer. And there was a part of me that cynically was ready to not really like this record, but on the whole, I thought it was better than I expected it to be. I think some of it is produced by Ross Copperman and some of it's produced by Bart Butler, if I have that right. I could be wrong. But it sounds pretty cohesive. It's almost like a Daughtry-esque sort of somber rock album. And Warren does have a voice that can wail. He's got that growl in it, and he yells a lot. And my main criticism of the record is just I don't like listening to Warren's voice for a long time all at once. And the songs that start loud and stay loud, not for me. Tracks like Inside Your Head, even if they have a kind of cool melodic structure, I'm just like tired of it. But the songs with real shape that show off a more tender side of his voice, where he gets quieter and then is allowed to kind of explode on the chorus, way more effective to me. Like on Weeping Willow.
To mama and daddy, she's in best they ever made.
Even on Pretty Little Poison, on Painkiller, I enjoy that a lot more.
Baby, my stars have all burned down.
Underneath all the kind of like pop rock, Daughtry-esque tones, there is a lot of steel on this record. There's sometimes a somber fiddle. They're definitely going for this kind of like Western, slightly grungy vibe, but also like heavy guitars, big drums, definitely rocking out. And thematically, it's a lot of tortured songs where like, this woman is poison, she's killing me, but I love her, and you know, he's in the struggle. This is the kind of album that I'll revisit when I want like 2 or 3 songs, but as it stands, I feel like there was not enough tonal variety for me to really want to go back and listen through a whole Warren Zeiders album. I didn't really laugh or dance or anything, you know, it's not that dynamic. But it's also not bad. Honestly, almost no albums are that bad this year. It's been so weird. Or maybe I'm just like growing out of thinking stuff is bad. I don't know. Next up, Tyler Childers' Rustin' in the Rain.
I will stand my ground.
Okay, I liked this album a lot. Online, you would think that Tyler Childers has just like totally fallen off. When I see comments on Instagram and stuff, people are like, oh, album was mid. And I'm like, I thought it was way better than Can I Take My Hounds to Heaven, and certainly more than Long Violent History. Like, I feel like this was kind of a return to form for Tyler Childers. I don't think it reaches the kind of simple heights of Purgatory or Country Squire, but I think there's some excellent moments on here. Like, I love the first song. I really love Rustin' in the Rain.
Do not let my heart just fall apart.
Where he just wants to be loved on a little, not left like a chair to rust in the rain. That song is funky and cool, and vocally, I feel like there's way more going on in it, and it's a way more impressive vocal than you would even think. I think Phone Calls and Emails feels completely classic.
With these phone calls and emails.
And it's fun to have such a classic country lyric with email in it. And the low-key star of this record is the piano. Like, I know Chase Lewis is the keys player for the Food Stamps, Tyler Childers' band, and man, the piano is so the star of this record to me. I love it. I like Childers' piano. And, you know, on In Your Love, you hear a lot of that pretty piano, and you know, sometimes you get so used to hearing the TikTok sound that you just only think of that, but the production on that goes into this funky place that I think is really cool. Now, there are 2 covers on this record, S.G. Goodman's Space and Time, and then Help Me Make It Through the Night. And I guess if we're to believe Tyler Childers from this New York Times profile he did, like every one of his albums has had one less song than the one before, and he's kind of like, maybe I'll just keep doing that and go down one more until I'm done. So I guess that would mean we have 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 21 songs left from Tyler Childers ever, which, like, I guess cool if that's what you want to do. Like, there's a pretentiousness in, like, Tyler Childers' metaverse that is a bit annoying to me. I'm like, okay, so we got 5 new songs now, and I just don't really get it. Like, to me, sometimes there's a part, and I say this as a Childers fan, that has, like, thicket shirts and all that crap. Part of me that finds the inscrutability just annoying. But at the same time, if he weren't inscrutable, he wouldn't make songs like Percheron Mules that feel like freaking Riders in the Sky almost, with the crazy harmonies and the wacky choices. So, you know, artist's gonna artist. So I accept it. And then This Is Great. It's like this Jake Worthington hat knew that, you know, you gotta save the thing that everyone wants to see for the very end of the video. So thank you for helping me, clickbait hat. It's Zach Bryan's Boys of Faith EP.
But you stuck around when I was down.
So Zach Bryan dropped this by surprise, like a month after dropping his self-titled, much like he kind of dropped Summertime Blues really soon after dropping American Heartbreak. And this just had 5 more songs on it. 2 of them are big collaborations. One, the title track, Boys of Faith with Bon Iver. Another one called Sarah's Place with Noah Khan. I've seen talk that there's like a folk Avengers forming because Zach has had a song with Casey and now Noah's had a song with Casey and now Zach and Noah have a song together and Bon Iver's in the mix and, you know, then you got other people like Maggie Rogers and who else? I don't know. Lizzie McAlpine that are kind of in that crew of people. But I would say I just merely like the Zach Noah song. Don't love it.
Those backyard lights don't shine as bright without your face.
Especially as compared to Boys of Faith, the Bon Iver collaboration. I don't even like Bon Iver that much, but I feel like I fully got it on that song, and it's got these themes of like loyalty with your boys that Zach loves to write about, and it's kind of with grandeur. Now, speaking of grandeur, I would say the absolute standout for me on this album is Deep Satin.
Well, I've been coming down on a Greyhound that is westbound.
I know that's been a fan favorite of Zach fans for forever, but man, with the horns that almost remind me of East Side of Sorrow and the really like kind of in the pocket melody. I've been coming down on a Greyhound, burner, westbound to the sea. I have been frustrated with Zach sometimes that he almost likes to kind of ride so loose on rhythm, and it can be annoying, especially as you know he's getting better and better at music. It's like, I just want to hear a song that's in the pocket, and that song just feels so in the pocket, and it's so like thrilling and exciting and romantic and tragic, and I feel like he really nailed it with that one, and that is the standout for me, and I liked the EP a bunch. It came out the same day as Charles's album. I know there was a lot of drama about it. I'm definitely giving Charles the W, probably like of this whole video. I'm giving him the W. Him and Emily Ann Roberts, they're my MVPs in this video. But there was like really all solid albums. Honestly, I feel like I have not been just like, ugh, that album was terrible in a long time. I mean, of these, my least favorite was probably Warren Zeiders, but I didn't even hate that. So just music's kind of good right now. And I hope that was a fun catch up. This video, of course, was much longer than I meant it to be, but that's how we roll. I'm caught up now. I'm going to try and get over these shingles, and then I'm going to be back with more videos soon. Love you all. Goodbye.